We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The end of an era. Emperor Akihito of Japan formally stepped down, the first abdication for 200 years in the world's oldest monarchy, as his son Naruhito prepared to take the chrysanthemum throne and usher in a new imperial era.
Venezuelan opposition leader and self-proclaimed acting President Juan Guaido said that troops had joined his campaign to oust President Nicolas Maduro as the government vowed to put down what it said was an attempted coup.
The Islamic State group's elusive Supremo Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi makes his first purported appearance in 5 years in a propaganda video.
Heavy rain battered northern Mozambique as residents and relief workers confronted devastation wrought by Cyclone Kenneth, the strongest cyclone to ever hit Africa, which killed 38 people.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. Emperor Akihito of Japan formally stepped down, the first abdication for 200 years in the world's oldest monarchy, as his son Naruhito prepared to take the chrysanthemum throne and usher in a new imperial era. In the Room of Pine in Tokyo's Imperial Palace, the popular 85-year-old performed the abdication ritual in the presence of the imperial regalia, an ancient sword and sacred jewel. Dressed in a Western-style morning coat, Akihito stood on a small stage before an invited audience and members of the royal family and offered his deepest heartfelt gratitude to the people of Japan. Empress Michiko stood by his side in a white and silver gown, and the outgoing emperor paused briefly after exiting the stage to help his wife of 60 years down the steps. Take a look.
今日をもち、天皇としての務めを終えることになりました。ただいま国民を代表して安倍内閣総理大臣の述べられた言葉に深く謝意を表します。ここに我が国と世界の人々の安寧と幸せを祈ります。
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe praised the royal couple, saying they had offered courage and hope to the Japanese people, particularly in times of suffering. Akihito will technically remain emperor until the stroke of midnight, when Naruhito takes over and the new era of Reiwa, meaning beautiful harmony, begins, lasting for as long as he reigns. Born in 1933 as Japan was embarking on a militaristic sweep across Asia in the name of his father, Hirohito, the 11-year-old Akihito listened in tears as his nation's defeat in World War II was announced in an unprecedented radio address. He has broken new ground in the sensitive role, expressing regret over Japan's wartime actions and gradually modernizing the royal family and bringing it closer to the people. Akihito and Michiko, whom he met at a tennis tournament in 1959, touched hearts in Japan and around the world when they knelt before survivors of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami and listened to stories of terrible suffering. The Oxford-educated Naruhito now faces the delicate balancing act of continuing his father's popular legacy while upholding the traditions of the chrysanthemum throne that stretch back centuries. He has called for new royal duties to fit modern times and has criticized the sometimes stifling lifestyle imposed on royals, especially as his wife Masako has struggled to adapt to palace life.
The death toll in storm-hit northern Mozambique has jumped to 38 after Cyclone Kenneth battered the country last week, according to officials, with aid workers struggling to reach some of the worst affected areas. Cyclone Kenneth made landfall late on Thursday in Cabo Delgado province, packing wind gusts of up to 220 kilometers per hour. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs described it as the strongest cyclone to ever lash the continent and predicted further heavy rain over the coming days. Cyclone Kenneth made landfall at the end of the rainy season when river levels were already high, increasing the risk of river flooding, the U.S. agency said in its latest update. Humanitarian needs in Mozambique have skyrocketed, and the humanitarian response will need to rapidly scale up. Preliminary estimates by the INGC, the National Disaster Management Agency, put the number of people affected by Cyclone Kenneth at 163,000. The damage caused by the cyclone is being compounded by torrential rains that are forecast to continue over the coming days, wreaking further havoc, not least to crops.
In other news, New Zealand police found a suspected bomb and ammunition in a vacant lot in Christchurch, the scene of last month's mosque shootings, which killed 50 Muslim worshippers. Now, police cordoned off the streets late on Tuesday afternoon in the Phillipstown area, just outside the central business district, and evacuated local houses. Shortly after 6 p.m., they said a military bomb squad had rendered a suspicious package safe, and a 33-year-old man had been arrested and was assisting police with inquiries. Police have located a package containing a suspected explosive device and ammunition at a vacant address on Newcastle Street in Christchurch. Superintendent John Price said in a statement, the New Zealand Defense Force, EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team have rendered the package safe, he added. Price didn't provide any background about the man or his possible motivations. Christchurch remains on alert after the March attacks, in which a self-styled white supremacist shot dead 50 people and injured another 39 in attacks on 2 mosques.
Australian bomb experts detonated highly unstable explosive materials found in a suburban Adelaide garden shed Tuesday following the arrest of a 43-year-old man police believe to hold anti-Muslim views. Police said the incident was not being considered terror-related at the moment, but the State Protection Security Branch was helping with the ongoing investigation. Authorities late Monday found a small amount of substance believed to be triacetone triperoxide used to make so-called Mother of Satan, a chemical explosive used by jihadi and other terror groups. The man appeared in court early Tuesday, charged with manufacturing and possession of explosives. The accused may have some right-wing nationalist anti-Muslim views. Acting Assistant Police Commissioner Craig Patterson told media. Patterson said the man was known to police. Police broadcaster, the ABC said, our public broadcaster, the ABC said, he had come to the attention of the authorities earlier this year for anti-Muslim social media posts. There are no indications for violence of threats or threats of violence to any member of the community, Patterson said. Police had ordered residents to stay in their homes ahead of the blast. They later said the detonations were carried out safely and successfully with no further concern to people or homes in the area.
A U.S. Army veteran who was allegedly plotting a large-scale terror attack near Los Angeles as revenge for the recent mass shootings in New Zealand has been arrested, according to authorities. Mark Steven Domingo, 26 years old, who had combat experience in Afghanistan and recently converted to Islam, faces federal terror-related charges for plotting mass casualties via a homemade bomb at a white nationalist rally in Long Beach this past weekend, according to officials. He also allegedly plotted terror attacks on Jews, in churches, and police in revenge for the New Zealand mosque shootings. U.S. Attorney Nick Hanna said, quote, "This was a case in which law enforcement was able to identify a man consumed with hate and bent on mass murder and stop him before he could carry out his attack." Domingo was arrested Friday after receiving what he thought was a live bomb packed with nails that was delivered by an undercover agent. According to court documents, Domingo expressed support in online posts and conversations with an FBI source for violent jihad and aspired to become a martyr by seeking retribution for attacks against Muslims. Hanna also said Domingo repeatedly spoke about becoming a martyr, vowed to pledge allegiance to Islamic State terror group if it managed to set up a presence in the United States. He appeared in federal court on Monday and was ordered held without bail pending trial. He is scheduled to be arraigned on May 31. Domingo has been charged with providing and attempting to provide material support to terrorists. He faces up to 15 years in prison on the charge.
The Islamic State group's elusive Supremo Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi made his first purported appearance in 5 years in a propaganda video released Monday, acknowledging ISIS defeat in the Syrian town of Baghouz while threatening revenge attacks. The world's most wanted man was last seen in Mosul in 2014, announcing the birth of ISIS' much-feared caliphate across swaths of Iraq and Syria, and appears to have outlived the proto-state. At this short excerpt from the 18-minute video shows he appears to be in good health, despite several reports that he had been injured or even killed. It is unclear when and where the unverified footage was filmed. The speaker talks about the fight for the town of Baghouz in eastern Syria, which ended last month.
A Chinese court sentenced a second Canadian man to death for drug trafficking amid diplomatic tensions between Ottawa and Beijing. The court in southern Guangdong province said the Canadian, Fan Wei, and 10 others, including an American and 4 Mexicans, had been part of an international narcotics syndicate working out of Taishan City between July and November of 2012. Fan Wei, whose gender was not specified, is the second Canadian to be sentenced to death this year. The 10 others, including 5 foreigners, were also sentenced on Tuesday. In January, Robert Lloyd Schellenberg was handed the death penalty following a 1-day retrial after he appealed an earlier 15-year sentence in a separate drug trafficking case. China says that he was a key member of an international drug trafficking syndicate, but Schellenberg claims that he was visiting only as a tourist. The sentence came amid the backdrop of frosty diplomatic relations between China and Canada, with Beijing furious over the Vancouver arrest of a top executive from telecom giant Huawei on a U.S. extradition request related to Iran sanctions violations. Chinese authorities later detained 2 national Canadians, a former diplomat and a business consultant, on suspicion of endangering national security, a move seen as retaliation over the Huawei executive's arrest.
Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido announced Tuesday that he had support from a group of brave soldiers in a video recorded at an Air Force base in Caracas and broadcast on social media.
Hoy, como presidente encargado de Venezuela, legítimo comandante en jefe de las Fuerzas Armadas, convoco a todos los soldados, a todos y a todas la familia militar, a acompañarnos en esta gesta, como siempre hemos hecho, en el marco de la Constitución, en el marco de la lucha no violenta que hemos hecho en todo momento. Así que el llamado es aquí, en este momento en la base aérea La Carlota a acompañar este proceso del cese definitivo de la usurpación.
At the same time, opposition politician Leopoldo Lopez said he had been freed from jail by soldiers supporting Guaido. Lopez posted a picture on Twitter with men in uniform and said it was taken at the Carlota military base, Venezuela, the definitive phase to end the usurpation operation. Liberty has begun. Read the message. The Venezuelan government of President Nicolas Maduro quickly announced an attempted military coup. At this moment, we are facing and deactivating a small group of treacherous military personnel that gathered to promote a military coup. Communications Minister Jorge Rodriguez tweeted, referring to the case as an attempt by right-wing operatives. Government officials then called for supporters to rally at the presidential palace in Caracas. In Madrid, the government warned against a bloodbath.
Now, as you saw there, Venezuelan opposition leader and self-proclaimed acting President Juan Guaido said that troops had joined his campaign to oust President Nicolas Maduro, as the government vowed to put what it said was an attempted coup. Communications Minister Jorge Rodriguez said on Twitter, "We are currently facing and deactivating a small group of treacherous military personnel who took positions in the Altamira Distributor Road in Caracas to promote a coup d'etat. We call on the people to remain on maximum alert to, with our glorious national Bolivarian armed forces, defeat the attempted coup and preserve peace," he said. Now, in a video recorded at a Caracas military air base posted on social media, the U.S.-backed Guaido said troops had heeded months of urging to join his campaign to oust Maduro. He appeared alongside high-profile opposition politician Leopoldo Lopez, who had been put under home arrest by Maduro's regime, but who announced he had been freed by soldiers supporting Guaido. Lopez also posted a picture on Twitter with men in uniform and said it was taken at the Carlota military base. Venezuela's Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez asserted on Twitter that the situation in military barracks and bases in the country was normal. Tensions in Venezuela have been ratcheted up to a critical level this year after Guaido, who is head of the opposition-ruled Congress, announced on January 23 that he was the acting president under the Constitution. He said Maduro had been fraudulently re-elected last year.
Aérea La Carlota a acompañar este proceso del cese definitivo de los...
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important.
Welcome back. Fire broke out almost simultaneously in 3 separate barangays. These are in Barangay Baesa, Barangay Bahay Toro, and Barangay Santo Cristo. We have an update from Erlo Bringas. Erlo?
Alma, many houses destroyed and many families affected of fire here in Barangay Baisa, Quezon City. That start at 4:30 p.m. in afternoon. Almost 1,000 families affected of fire that raised here in Mendez Road, Barangay Baisa, Quezon City. 500 houses destroyed and many families is now in beside of the roads together with their families and their things and houses. BFP said the fire starts at 4:30 p.m. a while ago and the fire destroyed many houses that some of them are in light materials. BFP raised immediately the fire task force Bravo, meaning fire trucks from nearby city helped to put off the fire. According to initial investigation of Bureau of Fire Protection, the fire starts in houses of Edilero with 2 to 5-story house. BFP officials still confirming the cause of fire that start in Lero family house. After 4 hours, the fire declared under control at exactly 8:25 p.m. a while ago. According to Fire Senior Superintendent Jaime Ramirez, they are still confirming and analyzing what is the cause of fire in this area. It's hard to them to put out the fire because of destruction and limited way to go in the center of the fire. But they see the angle the fire starts in overheat electrical appliances that start in the kitchen of the house where is the origin of fire. 2 million pesos is the estimated damages of BFP here in the area. After the fire raised here in Baisa, Quezon City, there is also a 2 fire incident raised in 2 nearby barangays. The second fire is in Sinagtala, Barangay Bahay Toro, Quezon City, which also involved residential light materials, also fire under control by 8 p.m. The third fire is in Romblon Street, Barangay Santo Cristo, Quezon City, and now in fire out. Alma, the mapping operations of BFP continues seen in many houses at Barangay Baisa, Quezon City. The families affected of this incident is now in the evacuation area and assisted by the local government units. According to BFP, until now there is no reported casualties and who did here in this fire incident here in Barangay Baisa, Quezon City, also in Barangay Bahay Toro and Barangay Santo Cristo, Quezon City. Reporting here live at Quezon City for Eagle News, I'm Erlo Bringas. I'm 1 with 25. Alma.
Thank you, Erlo.
Iglesia ni Cristo members in Papua New Guinea in the Ecclesiastical District of Australia West sponsored an evangelical mission and aid for humanity in Bomana, Papua New Guinea. Watch this.
Bomana, Port Moresby is where we can see wonderful sights and landmarks of the resting place of the Australian diggers, Papuan carriers, and the Japanese soldiers that died during World War II. This is approximately 19 kilometers north of Port Moresby, and this is the largest war cemetery in the Pacific region. In a small suburb, the Iglesia ni Cristo, or the Church of Christ in Papua New Guinea, once again proved their love and concern, in which most of the members are Filipinos who are working as skilled employees and with high-ranking positions. Headed by the Australia West District Minister Romeo Beltran, an aid for humanity was conducted, where this church helps impoverished people by distributing truckloads of goodwill bags to alleviate their daily needs.
You know, we are doing this in every suburb, not only in every suburb, everywhere, not only in this country, but throughout the world, because it is a commandment of God to spread the good news, to make sure that the people should know the gospel. Because the gospel is the power of God to salvation. So this vision of the Iglesia ni Cristo throughout the world is really a mercy coming from God. This is a God's love to all the people throughout the world through the works of propagation of the Iglesia ni Cristo. And not only we spread the good news, we include the aid to humanity. We give help to the poor because it is also a commandment of God to help the poor, to help those who are in dire need. So although they will not join the church or not, although they are not members or not of the Church of Christ, we will do that because that is also a commandment of God. And not only in this particular place, but everywhere, because there are poor people everywhere. So as what our executive minister said, but as long as there are poor people, we will not stop helping the people who are in dire need. And we are all doing this, spreading the good news, giving help to the poor for the glory of our God, our Creator.
The Filipino members was moved and touched by the poverty rate in this suburb because it is truly hard to bear. The recipients were so thankful with the Iglesia ni Cristo's act of kindness. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, this is Echo Hortaleza Quinola, and I am one with 25.
Welcome back. Italy's economy returned to growth in the first quarter after 2 quarters of contraction, according to the ISTAT Statistics Office. Gross domestic product expanded by 0.2% in the 3 months to March, having dropped by 0.1% in the final 2 quarters of 2018. Italy was the only Euro nation to fall into a recession at the end of last year, as faltering global trade and souring business confidence caused 2 straight quarterly contractions of its gross domestic product. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte's government cut its target for output growth in 2019 to 0.2% from 1% previously. Government representatives and some lawmakers from the ruling coalition have repeatedly said that the economy could grow even more should the policies adopted to support the domestic demand fully succeed. Bloomberg earlier reported that last Friday, S&P Global Ratings said the Italian economy will likely stagnate this year.
Top American negotiators led by Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin arrived in Beijing, hoping for progress in a new round of talks with Chinese counterparts as they home in on a deal to end a months-long trade war. The U.S. side indicated before their trip that China's massive industrial subsidies would be a top issue as the world's 2 leading economies seek to resolve a dispute that has included bruising tit-for-tat tariffs on $360 billion worth of goods. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer are leading the U.S. side for this week's 10th round of high-level negotiations with Vice Premier Liu He representing Beijing. Mnuchin declined to say what would be discussed, but he told the New York Times that the talks would continue to focus on China's practice of subsidizing industries.
Okay. We have a meeting here, and then the Vice Premier and team will be coming back to Washington, D.C., and we hope to make substantial progress in these 2 meetings. We've made a lot of progress. We look forward to the meetings.
Last week, President Xi Jinping vowed to abolish unreasonable subsidies to Chinese firms, addressing the key U.S. demand head-on. The United States and the European Union have long complained that China has created an uneven playing field by heavily subsidizing Chinese firms while erecting hurdles of foreign companies seeking to tap the Asian power's vast market.
U.S. President Donald Trump, along with his family and businesses, sued Deutsche Bank and Capital One in an attempt to stop them from complying with congressional subpoenas issued as part of a probe into foreign political influence. The subpoenas, which the Trumps described in their suit as intrusive and overbroad, were issued to several banks by the Democratic Majority House's Intelligence and Financial Services Committees, which are looking into the president's finances as part of a larger probe into election meddling by Russia. The lawsuit is the latest step in Trump's fight back against the Democrats and alleges that the subpoenas have no legitimate or lawful purpose. Leading Democrats said they would not be deterred by the blocking attempt. A Deutsche Bank spokeswoman told the New York Times, quote, "We remain committed to providing appropriate information to all authorized investigations." There was no immediate comment from Capital One. In 2017, the bank rejected requests by Democrats in the House of Representatives to provide details of the president's finances, citing privacy laws. Now, that year, it was also reported that Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who led the investigation into alleged collusion between the Trump presidential campaign and Russia, had ordered Deutsche Bank to provide records of Trump's accounts.
Scandinavian air carrier SAS said Tuesday it had to cancel another 504 flights on Wednesday, affecting 47,000 passengers as a pilot strike continued into its fifth day. Since the start of the strike on Friday, some 3,300 departures have been canceled, affecting a total of almost 327,000 passengers, according to the company. I quote, "I am deeply concerned that the pilot strike hasn't been resolved and that it is continuing to affect our customers," CEO Rickard Gustafsson said in a statement. The unions have not yet indicated that they are ready to release their ultimate demands and return to the negotiating table, which means that we remain in a deadlock, he added. Pilots are demanding better pay and work conditions, and the Swedish Airline Pilots Association, which initiated the strike, has said that months of talks had failed to result in a solution to pilots' deteriorating work conditions, unpredictable work schedules, and job insecurity.
A groundbreaking fusion reactor built by Chinese scientists is underscoring Beijing's determination to be at the core of clean energy technology as it eyes a fully functioning plant by 2050. Take a look.
对，起步比较晚，但是得与我们这个地方政府或中央政府的高度重视，有了这个政府的重视，在创新方面，特别是在这个随着这个国内的这些加工制造业的发展，能够加快了我们的一些进程。
We'll be back with more news right after this break. Stay tuned.
Health is our most
Monday to Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m.
UN Environment Program, or UNEP, said there is optimism that concrete steps will be taken to eliminate plastic pollution at sea, among other key measures to protect people and the environment from toxic products. According to UNEP, there is an estimated 100 million tons of plastic in seas and an estimated 50 million tons of electronic waste generated every year. Here's more.
I haven't heard any serious objections to this. It still remains to hear the parties themselves take the floor and pronounce on this. But as you know, we had an open-ended working group here in Geneva about 6 months ago, and we had concerns within the context itself, but not really serious objections to the proposal. That for me will send a very strong political signal, not only to governments but also to industry, that we have to do something about it. And we still also don't know enough on the health impacts of those plastics on our bodies, although we know in some parts of the world they detected plastics already in food that people are eating. DDT, for example, now there's only one company that produces DDT, and there are very few countries that are using DDT now for malaria control. And there's a lot of pressure, even coming from the African group now, for DDT to be completely stop production. We are hoping, because I've already seen alternatives, for example, here in Europe, of non-PFOA stick pans, non-stick pans, which are non-PFOA. So we're hoping that this kind of transition, especially in consumer products, there might be a quick transition with alternatives coming in. And when a container is being sent to country B from country A, country B knows exactly what is in this container, and country A also can ensure what is in this container is actually what it's supposed to be in.
This will, of course, reduce the risk posed by these hazardous chemicals and pesticides, as my colleague just pointed out, to protect farmers' health, but not only farmers' health, but also bystanders, children, all those who are involved in chemicals, in particular pesticides.
I still remember the days of stories of asbestosis, you know, when people would come back from work, we didn't know about asbestosis, it would be on their clothing, in their hair. They would hug their family and hug their children, and then we had this business of young ones getting asbestosis, and that was a real memory as a kid. And I see now we're getting a similar thing with pesticide, glyphosates and the like, where a family has worked on farms, worked with animals, worked with horses, and have been using pesticides, and then, can you believe it, well, I guess we can, it's gone into the young ones.
Drug-resistant diseases are set to skyrocket in the next 2 decades and cause 10 million deaths a year by 2050, according to the UN Health Agency World Health Organization. According to a new report by the UN Ad Hoc Interagency Coordinating Group on Antimicrobial Resistance, more and more common diseases are becoming untreatable. Now, this includes respiratory tract infections, sexually transmitted diseases, and urinary tract problems. The report also warns that life-saving medical procedures are becoming much riskier, and our food systems are increasingly at risk because of the use of antimicrobial products in farming. Today, at least 700,000 people die each year from drug-resistant diseases. Among the report's recommendations is a call for countries to invest in awareness-raising programs for the prudent use of essential medicines in human, animal, and plant health. Investment is also needed for ambitious research for new technologies to combat antimicrobial resistance, according to the authors. The news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is
and music, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 1:00 hanggang 2:00 ng hapon.
LA hockey fans remain loyal to their Kings even though the season ended with their team at the bottom of the division. Evan Allen Bazadyahi reports.
The LA Kings win tonight against their Las Vegas rivals. The Golden Knights breaks the regular season series tie with Los Angeles, winning 3 out of 5 games.
But even with the 5-2 win, are Kings fans still willing to tough it out after a season that ended with their team at the bottom of the division?
It's been a rough year, this one, being kind of down at the bottom, but we're moving forward, so I think it'll be good. I think next season will be better, I'm hoping. I'm hopeful, at least.
We're in a little bit of a down cycle now, but we have some opportunity to pick up some good players, and I think we'll be coming back soon.
Kings fans that have been with the team for years, we know what it's like to struggle, and always, once a Kings fan, always a Kings fan, never give up.
You know, it's still really a lot of fun to come to games. We've got a really great fan base here in Los Angeles. We always have, even before we won the Stanley Cup. I think we're talking about what next season looks like, but we're still really excited just to watch hockey here in Los Angeles. Over the last couple of years since we've won the Stanley Cup, the league has gotten a lot faster. A lot of young talent in the league these days.
I think they need to get younger. I think they need to get faster. And I think we have some great opportunities with kids coming up.
I think better offense. I think we got to be better on scoring goals early in the game and keeping that going strong through the end, because I think we kind of taper off at the end of the season.
Showing appreciation to die-hard fans was important for the Kings organization. Before, attendees were treated to a variety of activities and entertainment.
And it's always and forever! Go Kings, go!
During games and many free giveaways brought out the great excitement of the crowd. And even after the game, jerseys were given away to selected lucky fans. But it was the match against a team that swept the Kings last season in the playoffs that commanded the most attention.
2 goals were scored by the visiting Knights, both in the second period, while the Kings' scoring was more spread out, with Kovalchuk and Carter scoring in the first, Matt Roy contributing in the second, and in the third period, Kopitar and Kovalchuk recorded the last 2 goals for LA. With this being the last game of the season, Royal Kings fans took each and every opportunity to cheer for their home team. Hey, hey, hey. Uli Desjardins spoke about the grit of his players and of his experience coaching this Kings team.
For me, it's to look at the good things. Like, I have a lot of respect for the guys in that room. We went into some tough situations this year where, I knew it would be tough for us to find a way to win, and we found ways to win. I think of Jonathan Quick, had a tough game. We bring him back, and Marion played great tonight. We have a lot of character, and guys care. Like Martinez and Brown, guys are beat up, and the young guys too. So for me, when I look back, it's not one moment. It was an honor to coach the team. It's a great franchise, and it was great to be part of it.
Could new additions like Blake Lizotte and a change-up in the roster bring LA back to the glory days of the postseason?
We'll have to wait for October to see if the Kings of Los Angeles can oust any and all challengers to the throne. Reporting from the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Yvonne Allen for Eagle News, and we are 1 with 25.
Erica Celestino takes us to Manchester's northern quarter, a culturally fun and welcoming area of the city center that all visitors should explore. Take a look.
Hello guys, I am Erica Celestino and I have a question. Do you like street art, music and food? Because I'm here in the northern quarter here in Manchester.
The Northern Quarter is a fun and welcoming area of the city center that all visitors should explore. It is located between Piccadilly Garden and the Ancoats. It is a trendy neighborhood with cafes, restaurants, record stores, and vibrant street art. So many colorful graffiti! There are also many notable works of art, such as the beautifully decorated electrical substation on Tube Street. Music lovers should definitely head to Piccadilly Records, located on Oldham Street at the center of Northern Quarter. You can find a variety of music ranging from small-time locals to chart-topping celebrities. It is also home to independent clothes shops such as Affleck's Palace, a former department store which has been turned into a multi-story bazaar for alternative clothing.
If you are in the area, don't forget to check out the Northern Quarter. From Manchester, I am Erica Celestino, EBC correspondent, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Erica.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boys on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles and we're 1 with 25.